Good morning to Sunday morning chess with Coach Jan. That would be me. I'm Jan van der Mortel, International Chess Master. And today we have a scrimmage between young chess players from the Hartford Public Library and young chess players from the West Hartford Public Library. They're playing sort of a Scheveningen tournament. In Dutch, that would be Scheveningen. If you want to find out if someone is Dutch, just ask them to pronounce that word Scheveningen. And if they can't, they're Dutch. And if they can, or if they can, they're Dutch. And if they can't, they're not. It's a tournament system where each player of one team plays one game against each player of the other team. And they somehow named it after a Dutch seaside resort that's impossible to pronounce unless you're Dutch, which luckily I guess I am. The tournament just started. These are mostly players who have only learned to play chess recently. And let's see if I can find any of the games. I'm just going through my list. They're playing on chess.com. I thought I had one of them. And here we do. It's a game between Lol Tundra with white and Nighttime 03 with black. It just started and it looks like a pretty interesting fight already. What is going on? Kings are castled on opposite wings. The black king is castled on the king side and the white king on the queen side. The black king still has a very nice shield in front of him, and the white king does not. The pawn on b2 is gone. That means there's a big hole, but there's some business going on with a knight attacking a queen and a queen attacking a bishop. And these two pieces want to stay connected. Otherwise, that might have been the only move. Bishop check. Right now the knight cannot take the queen because it's check. The king has to move. And then the queen wants to move in such a way that it keeps the bishop protected. So I think black might be okay as far as not losing that bishop goes. But it's going to be not easy to make sure he doesn't. Okay, now the queen has to move. Actually, the bishop is no longer under attack. So the queen is sort of free to move wherever she wants. She could move to d4. She could move to g6. And d4 it is. Now, if I were white, I would probably think, let me get those queens off the board. Because this king is not very safe. There are a lot of big pieces, but there's no pawn cover. And white does indeed trade queens. So the white king is now relatively safe, and it's really a battle between the smaller pieces. Now we're in what we call an end game. An end game is the phase of a game of chess where kings can usually safely become soldiers in the battle, because the arch enemies are gone. The arch enemy of each king is the queen. And if there's queens on the board, the kings usually cannot safely just walk out towards either the middle files, the E and D files, or even into the middle of the board. But once queens are gone, usually kings can do that and should do that. There's a saying, an active king in the endgame is as powerful as a rook. So there you have it. The only thing that white has to be careful of is that the king is on this open file. A file that's open is a file without any pawns. And it could get vulnerable to a rook attack. So this king should probably hide on this square or on this square. And this rook move was pretty good because it protects this bishop. And that makes that this knight can move again without that bishop getting taken for free. So it's a good move for the bishop, but if rook b8, black does the same thing. Now the bishop is protected. Also, this rook is on this file, which is also open, because also on that file there are no pawns. Alright, what is going on? The pawn attacks the bishop. The pawn is protected by the knight, but the bishop can take the knight. Okay, black moved the bishop to safety, which was pretty good. I think they're playing game in 10. So actually, both have used half that time for about 24 moves. So they're using their time pretty wisely. Or wisely, I guess I should say, like players who've played quite a bit already. Because one of the things that most beginning players do is that they play in a rhythm of using time for their moves that doesn't really bear any doesn't really take into account how much time they have. So when you have 10 minutes on the clock, you should play relatively quickly, but at the same time you can still take maybe half a minute, a couple of minutes of time in case there's a difficult decision. Now in this case white has somewhat of a difficult decision. He just missed that black can now take this pawn. The knight has moved away from its defense, and now black is attacking two rooks. It's a double attack, and white cannot prevent that the black bishop will take one of the rooks. When you make a mistake, it's usually very wise to take your time on the next turn to try to figure out what it is you just missed and what is going on. I'm afraid that might have not worked out for white, because white actually lost a whole rook in this exchange, and that could spell trouble. His only hope is that somehow this knight is going to capture this rook, either now or later. But after rook b6, the knight is actually trapped and might be lost even. You're threatening rook d6, but also after rook b6 you're covering all the escape squares of the knight. Okay, that's a very tricky trap. It's understandable. Black is trying to attack the knight and take it, but now the knight can and should run away. Let's see what will happen there. The knight did run away, and the bishop starts gobbling up pawns. It's not looking too great for white now, because black will most likely be able to promote one of his pawns to a queen, and once the black queen is on the board, the white king will be in mortal danger. And white is doing his best, trying to keep the pawns alive. Rook g1 would be a move to go after this pawn. Rook e1, pretty good move as well, attacking the knight. In the meantime, I see more games having started, so let's take a look. My prediction is that Nighttime will win this game. And we'll check back in later. Let's look at the game between Quackis with white and Jason with black. They just started. There has been a pawn trade somewhere. The C pawn is gone and the B pawn is gone. Other than that, it is even. The black king is castled. The white king is not. G7 is a bit of a weak spot. The knight is already attacking it. If white would add one more attacker with the queen, he's threatening checkmate. Now black has plenty of defenses against that, but if he doesn't see it and doesn't defend, he will lose. I do like black's setup slightly better. A lot of white's pieces are on the rim. Knights on the rim are grim, or knights on the rim are dim, are the sayings. White goes for a sacrifice. Now this is bad for the knight, but it's also dangerous for the black king. And black should take, because he can. And actually white at that moment has 0 points in the attack, and he will probably have to bring his queen, but the black king can hide, and I don't think there's enough firepower in white's attack. The other pieces are too far away from attacking that king. Okay, black boldly ignores the knight and engages in a battle in the center. Actually, that's probably pretty good. It's a little dangerous. I'm worried about queen g4. That's the only move I would be worried about. If the knight moves away, then this pawn could keep taking, and there's still enough defenders for the black king. That is a very interesting move. The bishop moves to diagonal for an attack, to join the attack on the black king. That's a very dangerous move. Black is better here, but more and more black will be very limited in the number of ways he can proceed, because soon his king will be under threat by the white queen, is my prediction. Either queen g4 or queen h5. Okay, black takes the pawn, so now I'm expecting some queen h5 or queen g4. Maybe white is going to be really cheeky and sacrifice another piece. I am a little concerned about that king. I still see defenses. In particular, this knight move to g6 is a very helpful move, and it should be played just about now. This one is made in 3. Oh no, it's actually not. I'm a little confused by this knight here. But okay, the queen can take. The king walks out. Very dangerous. Knight e6 first might actually be a very strong move. Yeah, now the threat is queen h7 mate and knight takes queen, and there's no defense against both. So rook f7 is probably the best move, and just give up the queen and hope to survive that. But if you don't do that, you will not survive. Very nice move by white. Jason should probably take as much time as he can to try to figure this one out. If he sees queen h7, he has a chance of defending against it. If he doesn't see that mate, he does. He plays the best move. Very good. He also did take a bit more time than before. White is probably a little upset that he doesn't get to win immediately, but he does get to take the queen. Okay. So white now has won a queen, and black should recapture. If he sees it, he should recapture. If he doesn't, then he is about to get mated again by this white queen. Okay, he doesn't see it. He did see that the bishop, the knight was attacking the rook, but queen in, knight block. I guess the black king will survive. So maybe this knight should just get out of dodge and move to e6, attack the rook again. I'm going to guess that black is in big trouble in this position. Let's go back to, okay, nighttime did indeed get that queen and checkmated a lol tundra. Okay, back to Jason. Let's see if Javius against Damien 06. This game has also gone to an end game because the queens are off the board, which means that the kings are relatively safe for quite a while. Now in this position, it is even. Is it even? Yeah, it's even in material, except that the bishop could have taken the knight, but the knight now escaped. So what's going on? It's even in material. Usually I like two bishops better than a bishop and a knight. But some things are about to happen. This knight attacks the bishop and rook, and the rook attacks this pawn together with the bishop, and the bishop takes this pawn with check. Okay, now you have to go to g1 and h2. There would be a bishop f4 double attack, and he does not fall for that. I would be a tiny bit worried about the king if there's ever a rook coming to the g file. I don't quite see how that's going to happen, so should be fine for now. Now white has all kinds of threats. He's threatening to take this pawn. He could also take this pawn with the knight, because this pawn cannot take back because it's pinned to the king. Pinned pieces or pawns are very bad defenders, and this is a good example. This pawn is pinned and is a bad defender. Bishop takes e6 is also pretty good. It's check. The king will probably have to move to f8, and then white could choose to take this pawn on f5. Either with the knight, which I think is the best move, or with the bishop. Now if you go king h8, there's a knight f7 check, which could be very unpleasant. So difficult decisions for black. Javis is definitely having the initiative, but the white king is not quite in the clear yet. This bishop is very unpleasant, cutting off a lot of squares, and if a rook gets involved, that could be bad. King f8, best move. Now white has some decision to take. Aha, that's a very interesting decision, because there's a huge threat. Rook takes check is a big threat, because it almost checkmates that black king. On the other hand, it does give black an option to play pawn g6 and protect that pawn. So this is a very critical moment. If black defends, then he might be okay. If black doesn't defend, he is not okay. Rook f5 will... Uh-oh. That is a good move in general, but not when the rook can take on f5. And now black has to give up the rook in order for the king to survive, because the knight protects this square, the bishop protects that square, so the king is completely surrounded. So rook f7 is the only move, after which white can take it in 3 different ways. All of them are probably okay. I would go with the rook, but black is losing a lot of material. Oops. Ay. That is a move I was not expecting. Maybe it was a mouse slip? It's a bit of a strange move. If white would have taken the rook, the king would go. White would take the bishop with check, take the other bishop. So rook takes rook would have netted him 11 points in 3 moves, which would probably have been decisive. Now the bishop can take, and then you'd have to take, and it's still even, but black might be in better shape there. Okay, black does indeed do that, attacks the knight, so white has to take the rook with the knight, which he did, attacks the bishop. The bishop should move again to safety. He could take a pawn, I suppose. I would also like putting this bishop on this nice central square, where it's eyeing the diagonal of the king, and it's nicely protected by a black pawn. Or maybe you take first and go back, but this rook is not very good as it is right now. If you do take it, you might give him a chance to get very active quickly along this open b file. Black is thinking. It is important that he spots that the knight... Okay, so he doesn't protect the bishop, but counterattacks the white bishop, which might be a good idea in general, but the problem is if the knight takes, the knight is also attacking the black bishop, so now white has a chance to win a piece. He does not. He protects the bishop and attacks white's bishop, so the tense struggle between these 5 pieces continues. Let's see what black will come up with. Will he move this bishop away? Doesn't necessarily have to. Will he take this pawn? Will he move his rook? Not sure. White is up quite a bit of time, which might become important soon. Alright, he does take the pawn. The rook should move, and now the bishop should move to f6 maybe? d4? One of those. I guess You could technically play rook b8. Although I'm not sure if I would want to put my rook in a place where the bishop is sort of pinned. Are there any other games? Let's see the standings. I haven't looked at them in a while. Alright, Hartford is off to a quick start. And this is the 4th game. So let's see if West Hartford manages to make a comeback in this battle. I mean, the games I've seen so far are actually quite close, even though Hartford won all of them. Well, one of them I didn't see, so I'm not sure what happened there. But the 2 that Hartford won were not walkovers at all. So I think West Hartford should have a chance to mount a comeback. Let's see. So White did take the bishop. Okay, very nice move. The bishop moves away, protects the rook. It's very nice to unpin the bishop, but the problem is he should have taken this guy first. Also a very nice move. The rook moves to the file where all the pieces are gathered. Yeah, this one is getting a little dangerous for black. White is threatening to take the bishop. Aha, very nice move as well, attacking the rook. The rook should move away. Where should he move away? Actually, he has quite a few options. That is one of them. And now White is ready to move this bishop and create a discovered check with the rook. First as a check on the king can just go up. And there it goes. And this game is still far from over, even though White is up 1 knight. Now, if the best players in the world, or good players, masters are playing this, they'll win this position every single time. They would also win it if a master would play the world champion with White, the master would win this. Because up a knight is a big difference on that level. Now for these players, they're obviously not masters yet, having learned the game of chess not too long ago. So there's still quite a bit of work to do. Essentially, White will probably have to queen one of his pawns in order to win, and the same goes for black. And that is going to take quite a bit of work. Actually, what is going to happen is that black will lose on time. Yeah, black is playing very quickly, but he's not going to make it. There's just no way he's going to be able to pull this one off. White just has to keep making any moves, and that will win him the game. Okay, so a little roundup. It looks like Hartford is off to a flying start. They are leading 4-0 after the first round. The next round will start shortly, I'm guessing almost immediately. Let's take a look. If no one is playing yet, the tournament director is Daniel Zhao. He is instructing the players who they're facing in the next game, and then the players go on chess.com and challenge their opponents and start the games. So it's working out pretty nicely. And do we have a game going yet? Not yet. The Hartford Public Library program has been going since mid-February. It is supported by the Hartford Public Library together with Boundless and Team Dick USA. Team Dick USA provides the chess instruction, and the Hartford High School players from Hartford High School, they receive a lot of chess instruction every week. There's chess classes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. and usually on Sunday morning there is some sort of a chess competition. This is the second scrimmage they're now playing. The first scrimmage is a few months back against the Bridgeport Public Library. A scrimmage which was won by Bridgeport after a tense fight. Looks like Hartford is going to get some revenge for that loss, although it's still early. Let's see. I did not receive any updates yet, so let's see if I can find. Actually, let's go back in this game a little bit. There were some interesting moments. There was one very important one, which in the end did not make a change for the outcome of the game. But where is it? Rook e5. Here we go. So in this position, White could take this pawn with the knight, which is a pretty decent move, but he played rook e5, which is a very dangerous move because now he's threatening to take this pawn with the rook and immediately attack the king. Black has a chance now to play pawn to g6 and solidly defend the f-pawn, after which I think Black might actually be in pretty decent shape. He did not do that. He played a move that is a very good idea if this pawn would be protected. He played bishop f4. But now rook f5 is a big problem for Black. Black has to put the rook in between those pieces, and now White has a chance to take with the rook with check. The king is forced to this square. The rook can move again and take the bishop, also creating a check on the king. The king is forced to keep moving, and actually there's even a checkmate there. Let's see if I can I make moves? Sure, I can make moves. Check, king has to move. Check by the bishop, king has to move. Check by the knight, king has to move back. And now a very tricky move, knight d8, blocking the protection of the black rook along this rank. The king has to move in the corner again, and White's rook delivers the back rank mate. Oh, that's a very nice combination, not an easy one by any means. Instead, White played rook e5 back, which was a move that might even have been a mouse slip. But White did win anyway. Let's see. I see some games going. Yep, here is one of them. Here is another. Let's first find all the games and then I'll pick one to look at. Alright, these are the two so far. So, Quackis of West Hartford playing against Jezine of the Hartford Public Library. And there is a little battle already that has cost Black his queen. This might be a good chance for the West Hartford Library to make a comeback. Let's take a quick peek from the beginning to see what happened there. The knight went on a bit of a quick rampage there in the beginning. Black is lining up his pieces on this square, but White has defended that square with the knight, and queen f2 is not checkmate. If not for the knight it would be, but for the knight it isn't. And the knight takes, and Black has lost the queen. Okay then. And White now takes another pawn. Black starts developing his pieces. And we have a trade. And here we go. So, obviously this is much better for White because White is up one whole queen and a pawn. And Jezine is playing very, very quickly, which could be spelling some future trouble for him. He just almost like insta moved rook e8 after White attacked this knight. Okay, this is quickly going pear-shaped for Black because now the queen joins the attack on f7, protects the knight. I think West Hartford is not too far away from a comeback. Now there's a very nice checkmate. Queen takes jack, king moves over, queen sacks on g8, a black piece takes, and smothered mate with the knight. Very tricky checkmating pattern, very famous one, called the smothered checkmate. If you are familiar with it, usually you can spot it very quickly, but I would be somewhat surprised if Quack is actually familiar with this checkmate, because it is not an easy one. And if you haven't seen it before, good luck finding it. We're going to stick with this game for a moment to see if somehow white finds it. I mean, white has to be careful as well, because the knight is attacking the queen. But f7 is for grabs in all kinds of ways. Queen takes being the prominent one. Okay, exciting. Will West Hartford get onto the scoreboard in this game? There is a golden opportunity, but alright, one step closer. The king has to move into the corner. And then we shall see what is next. The queen can take the rook, but the knight is protecting, so that doesn't really do anything. So now there's a critical moment where white has this very fancy checkmating method, a checkmating pattern available. But if you've never seen it, it's not that easy to spot. Will white smother mate, or will black survive a bit longer? If white doesn't find it, white is still in great shape, because white is up a queen and a pawn, and is having a fairly dangerous attack nonetheless. Alright, this check is interesting. It's almost checkmate, but black has to take. White is sacrificing the knight, but he will open up this king a little bit more. For example, if somehow this rook could get involved on this h-file, things would be pretty grim for the black king. And I think white could try to actually achieve that. One would be to just start shipping the h-pawn until it somehow can take or gets taken. And then it's mate. So h4, h5 is a very powerful idea in this position to get this rook involved in the attack. If you would try a different route, then you could do something like this and that, which is also pretty good. Another interesting route would be rook takes knight, which is possible now, and very good. So the black king is under a huge attack. There's 9 points, plus 3 is 12, plus the rook is 5, is 17 points are in the attack on the black's king's position. And black has how many defenders? Well, 1, 2, 5, and another 5. About 10, the bishop a little bit, not much. So it's about 17 points against 10, so white has almost twice the attacking force that black has defending. And if white finds rook takes knight, that will even get worse. He does find rook f4, which I think was his original idea of getting the rook involved. So he wants to play rook h4, and black is trying to get this king out of there. That's pretty interesting. I'm not sure that's going to work in the long term, but in the short term, I guess he's ready to just do it and step out into the fire. Alright, now I'm not quite seeing how he's going to get checkmated yet. I'm sure it's close. I'm just not quite seeing it yet. I guess he's going to take the rook if he can. So in an endgame, without, let's say, if there would not be a white queen, then this king would be very powerful, as strong as a rook. But since the white queen is on the board, the king is sort of powerful, but also about to die. So, but a very creative defense by Josiah there, just running the king out of the h-file into the middle of the board. And this knight is now a bit of a hero. He is making sure there's no check on d5. He is just like a little spider trying to control the web. Probably not very successfully in the long term, but for now, a move. Well, one thing you can do is safeguard your rook, which did not quite happen after this move. And black does play the only move, because if that rook would be allowed to come into g3, would not last too long. So he did get some material back. Right now there's not a huge threat, so I would probably try to get this knight to back up that super spider. Okay, the knight is going here. The problem with knights on the rim is they're pretty dim, and he has little future. So, but at least this rook can get now can get involved to help that lonely black king out in the middle of the board with a arch enemy nearby. The game is still not quite over here. Let's see if I can find another game. Yep, here we have Lol Tundra playing white against Javius. And here too, West Hartford seems to be making a comeback and get onto the scoreboard, because white is up what? A rook, a knight, and 3 pawns. That's 12 points ahead. I think white's only chance of not winning is a stalemate. I'm predicting it right now. Not predicting that will happen, but I don't see any other way for black to survive this other than a stalemate. There's just too much material gone. White is actually ready to just bring the bacon home on the d file and get another queen. And before black gets a stalemate, he needs to lose 4 pieces. So only the king is the piece that is allowed to move. d6 check. If white spots this, I think it will be over soon. Okay, so West Hartford seems to be on their way to score their first win. Do I see another game go? I don't. So let's go back to design. Quackers is down to under a minute. He might not do it in this one, because that king is just running, and he's running away from the white pieces. I have a sneaky suspicion design is going to escape defeat, because 38 seconds. Now I like to play whole games in 38 seconds, but then again, the level of experience to be able to do that is substantial, and players who have only just starting to play the game will not have that experience yet. So I don't think Quackers will do it in 20 seconds, because you have to see all these patterns of checkmating. He finds a very good move. The king has to step out. Then I would like to bring in the bishop here or here, and we're very close to mate. Let's see, king here, bishop here, king runs, queen down, checkmate. Now the king runs here, and I'm afraid there's not a checkmate there. Now the king will run away towards the queen side. So again, white had a chance, but not an easy one. Yeah, the king will run. There's not a checkmate going to happen in the next 2 seconds. West Hartford got very, very close, but Chisayan had a very creative defense and got away. So let's see if West Hartford will do it in this game. Lol Tundra of West Hartford is playing white. He's doing quite well. He's up a lot of material. He's moving his king in, protects his rook. All he needs is really just get another queen. But given that I know these players have not played too long, sometimes they might not be aware of some important details. For example, what happens when a pawn makes it to the other side. because it would turn into a queen, which would almost end black's life. There it is. Okay, now the king is in stalemate because it has no moves, but he still has 2 pawns that can move. So it's not stalemate yet, but without these 2 pawns, the game would be a tie because black cannot move, but is not in check. Now, if white finds almost any check, it is checkmate. So how about 2, 4, 5, 6? Do I see any more? 7? Yeah, the problem when you have that many checkmates is that there's so many of them, sometimes it's difficult to see any of them. There's so many good options, but if white finds a check, it is checkmate. Alright, congratulations to West Hartford. They scored their first win. Let's go back to look at that Jazayan game and to show you the checkmates available. It started out with black trying to checkmate white on f2, but white had defended that pawn and the knight took the queen, and that was the queen gone. Then a little while later, this queen moves in, and it moves in, and now white has a chance for a smothered checkmate, which would look like this. Queen check, forcing the knight or the rook to take, doesn't matter who takes. And then the king is completely stuck in the corner and the knight delivers the fatal blow. Smothered checkmate. Alright, so now I have to find that game again. Let's click on this button. Let's hope that everything will stay in view for you. Looks like it did. Because I think I spotted another checkmate opportunity here. Queen h6, king g4. Now white played bishop e2 check, but I think this one was checkmate. Let me check again. Bishop check. If the king moves here, then it's checkmate on the next turn. This king prevents that king from moving there. The queen does it over here. This rook is blocking the king. The pawn is attacking that. So black has to block first and give up the whole rook. Then after check, he has this square, but now the white queen can do this. Force the king here, and then it is almost checkmate. Checkmate in 2. Is there a checkmate in 1? I don't see it. I see this one, protected by the pawn. And the bishop comes in for the final blow. Okay, Jazayan, the reason why he won this game was he won it on time. And the only reason he got that far was because after this very nice move, rook f1, trying to get the rook to attack on the h-file, Jazayan started walking his king out of that h-file. And all of a sudden, things were not clear at all of how to checkmate that king. So, a very, very miraculous escape, and a very creative one. The other way for the rook to get involved is to play pawn to h4. For example, if black plays just some move, like knight and h5, and if you take, the rook takes, and then the queen checkmates, because the bishop protects the escape square. So white had a very nice attack, had a few opportunities, but black managed to escape from almost certain defeat. Okay, so Lol Tundra is the first one who scores for West Hartford. Now, the other players I have not seen play any games. Oh, here is one. Okay, let's see what is going on here. Jay Sean playing with white against Damien. My first impression is that black king is not too happy. There's a bunch of white pieces nearby. There's this rook on the same file. So even though white does not have a queen on the board, this position is almost checkmate for white. So many pieces in the attack. Okay, this one was nice, but black king can take it. So he can survive a little while longer. Although he's still in very bad shape. Because white is up bishop, knight and 2 pawns. Plus all his pieces, his bigger pieces, are attacking that king. There's 2 squares to run to. Not sure which one is best. Now the rook can actually take this pawn, and we're getting awfully close to checkmate. He finds that the king has to walk to the a file, and the rook can try to move up and get to that a file. And that would be checkmate. Rook c4 is checkmate in 2. Okay, this one is not a bad idea to join the rooks like that, but it's very hard to catch the king now, because if this rook moves, the king moves away. If that rook moves, the king keeps running away. So it's very difficult to create a checkmating pattern with the rooks next to each other. Yet white is still threatening to play any rook down to get that a pawn. So, well, actually no, just this one. Keep the rook. Oh, very good move, I think, to try to trade some of those attackers. Alright, very good move. Yep, it's still mate. King moves up, rook moves over, checkmate, because the knight is protecting this square. So, black is not out of the woods. I suppose he could play a desperado and block with the rook, give up that rook. Now, if white finds rook a5 check, it is mate. And he does. Okay. Let's see if there's any other games. I thought there were 2 more players, but maybe they... Aha, there was another game which I missed. Davian Miranda of Hartford drew against Hermit Crab. Not sure where I can find that game. Let's see. Oh. Here I can find a game between... Oh no, maybe this is the game. What is going on? Well, I see the check. I also see that the king can run, and the pieces are on slightly unusual places. The knights haven't moved yet. This rook is on h7. It's going to take me a while to see what's going on here, because it's a very unusual construction of pieces. Some of them have moved a lot, and the majority of them have not moved at all. And for black, we have 2 pieces that have not moved yet. Both kings are actually completely exposed. They have very few pawns to shield them. The white king has pretty much none. You usually like to have pawns right in front of you. Black has 2 of them, but then he doesn't have one here. That creates holes on these squares. For example, if some knight would be able to land on one of these squares, the black king would not be happy. On the other hand, let's see if black can get some of his pieces close to that king. I see a check here. I see a knight moving in here to attack the queen. What else do I see? Very tricky position. So many possibilities, it's hard to see which one is best. Okay, this one the bishop could take. And he's sort of better, because if he doesn't, then the white king could quickly get under attack. Okay, now it's getting better and better for white, because black is losing pieces that he can attack with. The only danger to the white king is this black queen. And the danger is limited, because right now no other black pieces can help it to attack. And one thing I'm curious is, I don't think Hermit Crab has played too many games in his life, because it's not unusual for someone who hasn't and is still sort of learning how the pieces move to simply ignore the pieces he doesn't like to move that much, because he's not sure how to move them, or he has some trouble with them. So that might be why these knights are still sitting on these squares and why they're just thinking, let me use the other pieces. He's doing a pretty good job at using these other pieces. So far for that theory, because the knight just took this rook very quickly. Okay, now the black queen is finally getting close to that king, and the king only has like the knight as a defender. So this suddenly got very dangerous. Okay, the queen is taking a knight. Alright, this queen better get involved in some sort of an attack here. Queen g3, rook e7. I think that would be the end of the white king. But it's a very tricky position. There's so many different possibilities. Uh-oh. That might be a decisive little... Yes, white is now losing his pieces quickly. And I think this will spell some trouble. At this point he should try to lose everything, because stalemate is his only friend. If he manages to lose the knight and pawn, and then hope that black will trap the white king without checking it, white can escape with a draw, with a half a point. It's going to be a close call. Let's see what black will do. He did play a very good move, because now he just keeps hunting this king. And if he keeps doing this, he will actually end up checkmating the king. Alright, he's protecting the pawn, and he's still ready to attack this white king in many, many different ways. If he picks just almost one of them, it will probably be successful. Okay, I like this move. Now try to get rid of this knight. That's the only chance for the white to survive. Time should be plenty for black, 6 minutes. Okay, king e6 only move. Will black take that last piece of white? And check stalemate. Queen takes knight is stalemate. Okay, there it goes. Yep, stalemate is always around the corner. By taking that last piece, the king is now completely trapped, because all these squares are covered by a black piece. So he's completely surrounding the king, but he's actually not checking the king. And therefore, the rules say it's a draw. Narrow escape. Let's see what does that mean for the standings. Where do I... You can see them. Sometimes I have to go to the right screen to see them as well. Somehow, did the tournament director have like some... Does he have some prophetic capabilities and already knew it was going to be stalemate, and that's why the half a point is in there, or is there another reason? I think one more point is lacking from the standings, or not. Let's see, two. Actually, this might be correct. Okay. The prophecy of the tournament director. The next games, when will they start? I think they should start at 10 o'clock. Oh, this was actually not the game. They were playing for fun. Well, so the tournament director is not a prophet. He didn't actually predict this result. They already played the game and drew it, and then just played for fun. And the next round is going to start soon. Was a fun game nonetheless. And okay. They haven't started yet. So far, we've seen some very spectacular games with a lot of interesting tactics and strategies, and the Hartford library taking the lead with 6.5, 1.5. I have a feeling it's going to be very difficult for West Hartford today, but Pretty much any point will be nice. And they certainly do get their chances. This might be their first scrimmage as well, so maybe that has something to do with it. We'll see. I'll just show you what black should have done here. So the risk of taking everything of your opponent is that you run him out of moves and it's without checkmating him. In this position there's a mate in 3. Queen here. Oh no, that's not a mate. There should be a mate. There's a mate in 2. Queen here, forcing the king down, and queen down to d7, checkmate. So checkmate was close, but whenever checkmate is close and there's almost no pieces left for the defending king, stalemate is usually as close. Okay, I see a game has started. Yep. It's Jazine of Hartford against Damien of West Hartford. I have a feeling Jazine went to try to checkmate on f7 again. Let's see. He did, but the knight is blocking the queen. Alright. Okay, and now black starts a counterattack on the white queen. He's also attacking the pawn, which would be a fork to the king and rook. So, technically, I think the only good move for white is to bring the queen all the way down. Uh-oh. There's a pawn alert. Damien didn't miss that one. He took the queen. Okay, so Jazine is now into defensive mode because checkmate is not very likely. Without a queen, it's very difficult to checkmate an enemy king. It's not impossible, but it's quite difficult. And things are not improving because now the knight did come in to fork the king and rook. And my expectation is that the knight will take that rook on the next turn. The king has to move and white will probably lose the rook as well. So then black is up a queen and a rook. Now it's nice to be up a lot of points, but then you have to use them. And this is where things might get, well, will usually get much more difficult. How to use the pieces to their maximum capacity. For example, these rooks are far from the maximum capacity. They might be worth 5 points, but now they're certainly not acting like they're worth 5 points. These pieces are worth 3 points, and they're definitely acting like they're worth 3 points. They're in the middle of the board. They create threats against black. So for black, it's sort of essential to get these bishops out and prepare to get the rooks involved as well. So far, black is doing a great job with his knight. But in order to catch this king, he will need to use the maximum firepower available. And he's still quite a few moves away from that, so this game is not quite over yet. White is a big favorite, but still in the game. Let's see. Who do we have here? This is Nighttime against Javius, which are 2 players from the same team. So I'll have to ask the tournament director what's going on there. This is Davian of Hartford against Quackis of West Hartford. I see that the queen was attacking the king and the king is making a run for it. There's also this pawn that's attacking and being attacked. Queen checks again. The king will move. And when the king moves, this bishop will attack the queen. So here, there's some danger here. Right now, mostly danger to the white queen. And it's very tricky. When a piece moves and that reveals another one attacking, it's usually not that easy to spot. It's called a discovered attack. Discovered attack with the king. The king moves and discovers or reveals the attack. It's critical because if white doesn't spot it, white did spot it. Very good. Alright, now black is finally not under attack and he has time to take this bishop. Which he does. Okay. Well, that bishop will not make any good moves anymore in this game. But maybe this knight could take over the job of attacking that king. So black is up a piece, but the only piece that has been doing any sort of moving is this black king. Now there's another discovered attack by the black king, because this bishop is attacking the queen. So again, it's critical for white to not allow that bishop to take your queen. Let me ask the tournament director, what's up with JVs versus nighttime? Okay, looks like both players are missing the discovery, and now the discovery is gone. The queen trade is available. Alright, now both kings instantly become very safe, because it's just not really easy to checkmate a king without a queen. So now both sides might have to promote a pawn. And that is going to take quite a while. So this game might actually go quite long. Unless one side wins a lot of the other side's pieces, then maybe a checkmate might happen before that. But it's much more typical that this will go very long before we will see a checkmate. We still have plenty of time. Let's check back in with Josiah. So he lost a bunch of pieces. And what's going on here? Alright, bishop e6. I like the idea a lot to develop that bishop, but there's 3 attackers, so white could win back a piece. The downside is when he does that, he is going to lose 2 of his 3 active pieces. Or maybe just 1, actually. Yeah, black should recapture. Let's see if... Well, actually, hold on. There's also something on d3. There's a check here, but it's too dangerous. This knight is attacking the king, the queen. The rook is in the same file as the king. This knight has to be eliminated. Otherwise, it could create cause some havoc to the black king. Okay, he does eliminate it. Critical move. White should now probably recapture it with the rook, because the bishop moves away. Now this pawn is up for grabs. King moves, knight checkmate is on the board. But you would have to see that. Okay, step 1. Will Damien score West Hartford's next victory on the next turn? Knight c2 would be the way to do that. There's actually many good moves for black. So knight c2 is definitely not the only way to win this game. It's the only way to win the game on the next turn. Queen takes knight would be fairly devastating as well to white. And there is the checkmate. Okay, West Hartford got 1 more back. Very good. Let's go back to Crackers against Damien. What is going on? What is going on? It looks like it's even in material, more or less. I haven't counted the pawns yet. Alright, it is even in material. But a lot of the pieces are not carrying their full load yet. What we call activity. Most of the pieces are not active in this position. White's only active piece is this knight. Okay, the bishop is protecting it, so there's some activity there. Black's active pieces are this king and the bishop pinning that knight. But these pieces are not active at all, they're passive. And I could also say they're unable, they're not very able in this position. That means they're not really carrying their weight and they're not worth their full potential. Okay, now black lost a bishop and he has to be careful. Okay, he does take with the correct pawn. Now the knight should move. So far, it's looking like white probably has the upper hand, but yet he might need to queen a pawn to win this game. So there's only 3 of them left. So practically, black might not be in that bad of a shape because he has got 5 of them. So in that sense, his chances of getting another queen should be bigger. The question is, how will white use his extra piece? And this takes a lot of experience. What we call the technical phase. How to work together. How to make all those pieces work together harmoniously. For example, in this position, I'm seeing that a rook on e4 is checkmate, as well as rook on c4. Because this king is completely surrounded, so actually there is a checkmating pattern available. Move bishop, move rook, move rook. Then I can still block, so maybe not like that. Okay, let's see. I dare not predict the outcome of this game because there's too much play left. Do we have another game? We do. Well, Tundra of West Hartford against Jay Sean of Hartford. And all kinds of things are happening here. The queens are gone. So, here too it means that in order to checkmate, you will probably have to promote one of your pawns to a queen. And since black has only 3 pawns left and white 7, that means white's chances should be much better. Also, white is up a knight. But, like in the other game, the ability of the pieces is really what counts. White has 2 pieces that are very able, the knight and the bishop. And black has, well, the knight maybe not that much, because where can it go? It cannot really go to any of these squares, so these 2 pieces are quite able for black. And now this rook can also get involved somehow. Candace just died. I have no idea what that means. I'm less experienced as a live streamer than these players are as chess players. So that will, if this is some sort of a live stream thing, no idea. There's also some sort of a sound which I believe has something to do with the live stream, but again, no idea. I guess chess is one of the few things I can speak about with some authority, but other than that, don't expect too much of me. Any other games? Davian is so sorry about that. What are you sorry about? Hold on, look at that. What is going on? I said rook on e4 is mate, and there is the rook. Okay, let's see how that happened. Rook a2, e2, e4. Okay then. The black king is caught by 2 knights, a rook, a pawn, and a bishop. So almost all of white's pieces are involved. The bishop protects the knight, the pawn protects the knight, and the knights are protecting these escape squares. Very nice pattern. Extremely unusual checkmating pattern. Involving two knights, a rook, a bishop, and a pawn. Okay, West Hartford makes a further comeback. Let's see how this will go. I see a check, and I see the knight is pinned, so it cannot take, so that means the white king has to move, and it does. This is a pretty close game. Black has an extra rook for a knight, but white has... Technically he's got 5 more pawns, although the one on the H file is not very useful. So he's got 4 more useful pawns, and that is the main theme of this game. The strength of the white pawns. Alright, I like this move. Bring the rook to this open file. File without any pawns, which means that the rook can get very active. But to checkmate this king, you will need a lot more than the pieces you have right now. I like this move as well. Going to the half open file. Half open file is a file with only pawns of one color. And white defends the pawn. Okay, very good. It is certainly a bit more easy to play with white than it is with black. Because what do you aim at next? Well, there's a few moves for black that he can play to attack stuff. Alright, bishop b6. I might have played that move myself. 3 minutes, 1 minute. So time is going to be very important in this game, because a checkmate has to be delivered within that time. And there's still quite a few moves to play before there's any sort of checkmate happening for either white or black. So the black king keeps running. He's fairly safe. He's in the middle of the board. He doesn't have any shield by pawns, but there's just not enough white pieces to really trap him. And also, even if there are, to have all those pieces work together to create a checkmating trap is very difficult. We saw an example in the previous game with quackers, but those are exceptions rather than the rule. So I think the black king is probably fairly okay, as well as the white king, although black does have a bit more firepower with 2 rooks and a bishop to go after the white king. At the same time, black's only chance might be the pieces he has right now, because these pawns are not that likely to ever turn into a queen. So the main question is, will white checkmate black before he runs out of time? That is the main question. I dare not make any predictions about that. Because it's going to be a very close call. Okay, there comes a pawn. What will black do about that pawn coming up? Right now, he's still okay. Alright, well, he is moving up this pawn, although this pawn has a clearer path to the other side than the black pawn, also a much quicker path. So black probably has to take some defensive measures against f8 queen. Okay, white is getting very close to promoting this pawn now. I'm not sure what black can do against it. So the tension is rising. Alright, I got an update from the tournament director that someone of the West Hartford team had to leave. So they're down to 3 players. And Hartford will have to sit out 2 players each round. Not that they will have nothing to do. They can still play chess with 10,000 of people all around the world, or each other. What are the standings now? We have 6.5, 3.5. So West Hartford is making quite a comeback. But they're still behind. Okay, so Jason thought for quite a while and took white's rook, and white now gets a queen, which increases the danger level to the black king by quite a bit. But 45 seconds. Is that enough time? 40 seconds. Check. It's not mate because there's one move still available, namely king c5. Played. Taking the rook. Okay, so that rook is not going to bother white anymore. And the king keeps running a little bit, and the white queen moves closer to the king. 34 seconds against 38. The black king runs. Who is going to be the faster player? Check. The white black king takes the bishop. Okay, now checkmate is a bit far away. And time is what matters most. Uh-oh, that queen is now off the board. White's checkmating chances are disappearing. And the only question is, who will play the quickest? I don't know. 3 second difference to 19 to 20. Black still up by about 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Almost even. Now white is up on the clock. Black is up on the clock. 11 against 14. 10. 13. 10. Queen. Uh-oh. This is probably going to be troublesome for the white king. Because now any check usually means gain. Uh-oh. 2 seconds, 1 second. 1 second, 2. Oh, who's going to win this game? Oh, 0.8 seconds. There you have it. Well. Exciting stuff. Yep, white got very close to checkmate. But then time was disappearing like, what's the expression? Snow before the sun. The butter was melting quickly. Okay then. So, very close game. And that, I think, means Hartford is expanding the lead again a little bit, but it's still within reach, I believe. Are we about halfway now? So if we have about 11 points in the game, we have about 11 left and a 4-point difference. So it is close, but I think West Hartford still has a chance to make it difficult. Alright, we have a little bit of time left. 4 minutes. So you know what? Let's see if we can do a little puzzle rush as we wait. Puzzle rush or puzzle battle. Maybe puzzle battle. How about that? Puzzle battle is Might be more fun. Let's see if I have it showing up nicely on my screen. I don't think I do. Hold on, why I fix that? Actually, okay. Puzzle battle, player against another win. Random play, yes. Random, let's see. Play. 3-minute puzzle battle. Because why not? I'm waiting for an opponent to appear. There we go. Puzzle battle. Ah, it's white to move. It's checkmate. Okay. White and black to move. Checkmate. Take back. Push pawn. Queen. Checkmate on the back rank. What is going on? Ooh. Oh, it's checkmate here. Checkmate on h6. Checkmate on f2. Checkmate on g3. Checkmate on c2. What is this? Let's just win a rook. Okay, let's do that. Take this guy, checkmate. Take, push. Having a feeling we're getting a checkmate on a6. I'm behind. What is this? Block. Take. Take. Checkmate in 1. Checkmate in 1. White to move. What's going on? I have no idea what's going on here. Push. Push. Take. Push. Push. Yes. Am I losing yet? What is going on here? It's take and push. Black to move. What on earth? Okay. There's a double attack on d4. Okay, now I queen with check. Or I queen like that. What is this? I can take and win the rook. And what is this? Probably checkmate on the back rank. And this, what is going on? Can't I not take this with the pawn? I'm confused. Oh, that was the point. What is going on here? I take the queen. I take the rook. Oh, I'm losing. I have to speed up. I'm too slow. Too slow, too weak. Let's take, push. My God, how many moves? Check. What is going on? Impossible. 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 And here, 12 seconds. I'm going to lose. Oh, it's... Can't even see whose turn it is anymore. I think it's over. Is it over? It's over. Whew. Close. Close. Good morning, Coach Z. Let me go back to the live page. Alright, who are the players this morning? Do I still have everything nicely? The players this morning are Nighttime, who just started his game against Quackers. And we have players from the Hartford Public Library, 5 of them, playing players from the West Hartford Library. They started at 4, but one had to leave. I'm actually not sure who it was that had to leave. Quack is not, because he's playing. And Hartford is up, I think 6.5 to 3.5. I'm not sure if the standings are completely updated. And we just started our next round of games. Let's look at Crackers against Nighttime. Actually, I'm going to take a quick break and be back in about a minute. Just have to take care of something.